that generations before us really discounted and didn't really give proper attention to mental health. And Nathan, I really want to ask you, or start the ball rolling with, as men, how do we find community? Because I find so many times that, you know, it's got to be me, and, you know, we're living in a time now where we do need to take care of our mental health, to address our mental health, and we also need community.
Thank you. So first of all, I think if you certain professions, you definitely need a therapist. You need to be real. Actually, if you're a man, you need a therapist. You need. It doesn't have to be an official one, but you need therapist. You need someone to speak to. It can be a preacher, it can be a doctor, it can be someone with a license. You need to speak to somebody. You need to take care of yourself mentally. One thing that I've done myself with my children that my dad did not do is my kids will see me cry. And I think that's also a good thing. You need to let it out. And you're talking about the physical. I've been hiking, I've been running. So as you said, I might not look it. I was in El Salvador about a month and a half ago. I hiked the biggest volcano in the country. Tore it up. I can run a 12-minute mile. I'm proud of myself. I get out, I get the fresh air. I haven't had chicken, beef, and pork. I haven't had beef and pork in over 30 years, I'm sorry. Haven't had chicken in 5 years. My kids have never seen me drink a soda. So I'm saying that because I believe that also has to do with your mental. Because when you're putting that stuff in your system, with the hormones, with the sugars, with the other stuff, you're destroying yourself. And it does affect you mentally. You can't go to sleep at night because there's stuff you put into your system. You're sluggish because there's stuff you put into your system. It affects you mentally. When I lived in Dubai, I'm going to air it out. They used to label the food by the country where you got it from. So when you went down the produce section, you had American apples, Mongolian apples, Egyptian apples. I never bought the American products. Why? Because they did not rot. If I bought a Mongolian apple on Monday, it went bad by Wednesday, Thursday. If I bought that American apple and put it in my refrigerator, a month later it looked the same. So I realized, and this is a fact, that I did not want any American products when I lived overseas. So we stayed away from all American produce and bought African and Asian fruits and vegetables. And I felt better. I felt a lot, mentally and physically, I was in a much better place.
Here's what most people can't do. They cannot look at you and see a mental health issue.
Say that again.
I'm not crazy. I'm a very intelligent person. I'm a retired school teacher. I'm also a 100% disabled veteran. How many of you all can tell me what percentage of that is mental? Look at me. I'm 70% diagnosed with what they consider a mental health issue. PTSD, it's considered mental health, okay? But because of that, because of things that's in my head from, you know, I went to Vietnam, but things get in your head from your experiences. You can be in a car crash and get stuff in your head. So you don't have to, a lot of times people say there's nothing wrong with me, or I'm okay, or I don't need to see a shrink. It doesn't have to be wrong. Even with physical health, we need to stop waiting until we're sick to go see a doctor or go see a chiropractor. We need to be on top of our mental health with the food, with everything. Even with chiropractic visits. I visited this man regularly until the VA started paying for me to go free somewhere else. Okay, and I'm not rich, so I still do that. I also get massages. People tell me, my boy said, man, why you do all that pampering yourself? Do you know what a full body massage does for your circulatory system? So we got to, on certain things on our health, we just got to get out of our head that it's pampering or something wrong with you to see a mental health person. And a lot of us, you know, you'd be surprised, like you mentioned the pastor or whatever, just to have somebody to talk to. But not to disagree, but on certain issues, you need to be with a mental health professional. Okay, no matter how good your teacher or your preacher or whoever else is, there are people who are trained to study what's going on with this stuff.
two brothers were impressive in your answer and said most of what I had to say, so I won't repeat it for the essence of time, but I will say just this morning I woke up and I was watching the video. And the video was talking about our food here in America, to your point. I just challenge everybody to go home and look up. All of our food, our cattle, our water sources here in America, because of, I'm not going to say the company's name because I don't want anybody to come back and say I'm liable for slandering them or anything, but you can look it up yourself. But that non-stick Teflon that goes in our pans, that they put in all our products, that seeped into our waters. Quietly, they never told us. They never get into our bodies, that's right. And so you got 99% of people walking around here in America have that in their bloodstream. That causes cancer. So if you wonder where cancer is coming from and all this stuff, and oh, well, I never smoked, why do I have breast cancer? I never did. They've been poisoning our water and our food sources for years, and they knew they did it, and they didn't admit it. They just kept on serving it to us. They just brushed it under the table. So what I watched this morning, and just to show you, I'm going to touch on something politically. I always get in trouble with this brother's, when I talk to this brother on he knows, I always say something that gets myself in trouble. I'm saying, Biden was the first president that put restrictions on how much of that could be in our food source. They finally fought enough that it got to the presidential level, and he restricted it. Our current president just took those restrictions away. And so, not only did he take those restrictions away, he put people in places appointed that had power that were working for the people that were poisoning us. So I don't know what the game plan is here, but everybody needs to start paying attention, and we need to start coming together as a community and having these conversations, because at the end of the day, it's going to be our welfare against someone else's welfare. And we got to protect ourselves, and we got to do for ourselves, because no one else on the outside has an interest to do it.
So I want to throw this out to anybody who wants to answer, because we really didn't touch on this, but I'll tell a quick story. Recently I had a high blood pressure scare, and because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I was like, why am I suffering from high blood pressure? And on top of that, I felt like, okay, so you're diagnosed with high blood pressure. I felt like that was a black mark on my record, and so I didn't tell anybody what was going on outside of my family. So shout out to Darren Palmer. I was in his store and I casually brought it up, and he said, man, that's something that's hereditary, and I've been taking high blood pressure medicine for 20 years. The reason why I brought that up is because, again, as men, we do need, or maybe we don't, do we need community? And if we do need community, how do we go about doing it? Because, like, our ladies have book club, or they watch the stories, or I don't know what you generally do, ladies, but you're better at the community piece, or tend to be, than we are. Anybody?
I already picked this out when we leave our prayer services every Friday.
Okay.
It's a place down the street. Me and about 4 or 5 brothers go, but I'm already still listening. But yeah, we come down here on Fridays. And I also tell them, a lot of time I initiate that. I mean, my wife and her friends, they go to lunch, they meet each other for dinner. How come we as guys don't do this? I've seen you out and about when I'm with my wife. I see you at a table full of your friends, guys. I always admire that, because men, we don't. We don't just out there and hang out and socialize, and even serious stuff, but even just socialize.
If I could just add something, we just had 6 people that's here for a little bit, and they left. That's the community. That's the community. That's the community. What are we not saying that can grab them where they can stand there and just listen? It's just not there. I just ran a election not too long ago to become one of the next council people in Pleasantville. I grabbed all the registrations that were voters. Just in half of the city was 5,800 registered voters. The election day came and less than 600 people came out and voted. Now, I have history with me, and I'm not sitting here to say what 17 years on the school board, I did some things that nobody ever could do. Steve Young, he ran in this city. This man did some things that really helped a lot of people. But what I'm saying is, nobody feels enough to come out and vote. I don't care if you didn't vote for him or was vote for him, but just come out and vote. What can we do and say? Because everything we're saying here is good, and the people who are here are good, but how does it touch or reach the people that just says, I'm going to stay home today, I'm not going to vote?
If I knew that, this place would be standing room only, because I invited more people than what came out. But I promise you, we're going to get a chance to talk some politics a little bit. But I want to hear what Dr. Miller's secret is for building community.
So to me, so one of the things we can do, like one of the things that I do with my family, I have a group, we call it the Family Fitness Group. And we started this about 4 or 5 years ago. And we have like right now like 13 of my close family members and one of my patients. And we just connect with each other every single day. So that means that when we go to the gym, and I would recommend that everybody gets to the gym. It could be walking, I don't care what you do, but do something. Making sure you eat right, exercise, and we just connect with each other every day. So when we do it, we'll send a group text to each other saying, hey, I just went to the gym, we sat in the sauna, whatever you do, just do it. And out of that, it's interesting because one of my nephews, when we first started, he was probably close to 300 pounds. And now he's down to like 180. My son, who lives in Atlanta, again, with him, started up, he was over 300 and some odd pounds. Just sent us a text the other day with a picture, he's down to 274. My other son, in about 6-7 months, lost over 30 pounds. But it's just a community, to me, it's a community, connecting with. And I think for us as men, one thing I've always done over the years is, I'm talking about guys that I knew from high school, stay in touch with them all the time. Just reach out, hey, just check in and see how you're doing. Just want you to know I love and appreciate you. And like you said, women do this stuff, they connect all the time, we don't. And I think it's just, whoever, like if you're the guy, be the guy that reaches out and just pull people along. I do a thing in my office on, the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, I'm always doing something to try to educate and bring people out. Since COVID's been crazy because people don't want to come out. But I still do it Facebook Live just so that we're connecting with the community. I have a group, and again, women, Monday nights, these are women and people who will go through a 21-day detox purification program to get their bodies cleansed. And I meet with them every Monday night, just for 30 to 45 minutes, just to keep them on point. If you lose the weight, get her off, you don't want to go back to where you are. And I think the importance of community is that if you don't connect with that stuff, there will be something that will trigger you to go back to where you were before. So.
Okay, you got to hear from, okay. I promise you, I'll get to it.
So first you identified me as Stephanie Davies. Yes, that's my government name. Most people know me as Bashir Khan. I'm not here representing Atlantic Cape Community.
Okay, and I know you're Bashir Khan, but I didn't know how you wanted to be identified.
Second thing I want to say is that, well, look at my smile. 3725. 3725, it's in the Quran. And what it says is just like community. It takes a community. And for me, I identify as being black. I am not in competition with my husband. I'm a compliment to him, right? And so we make each other better. And then our role as a community, the reason why and those individuals left, we don't know. I didn't recognize any of them. They might not have been from this community. But when you have people from our community that stand and align themselves with folks who do stuff to the detriment of our community, to bring them up in a space, like me, I'm intentional with how I move. You know, I put my place in close proximity of folks who we want to elevate. Because I understand that I am the sum of the people that I surround myself with. So I'm no longer going to align myself with people who don't see me or when they see themselves. And so that's what I would want to say, even with what Mr. Garrett said about EHT. I had the privilege of going to Egg Harbor Township High School. My parents was of the mindset to move from here. We moved from Pitney Village to EHT, and those were the 4 hardest years of my life. His mom was a teacher at EHT. Miss Bailey was a teacher at EHT. But the moment that I was able to come back here, I did. And so I came back to Atlantic City. I've lived here. I've been on the school board here. I raised my kids here. My kids went to Atlantic City High School. If I had children today, I would still send them to Atlantic City High School because you have to pay attention. We have a sending receiving school district, and that is in part because of Brown versus the Board of Education. These districts don't have the numbers to get them their own high school, and so it won't happen anytime soon. But when you educate yourself, you're supposed to educate your neighbors and just keep it in close proximity that we can all work together because it's important. Black men, women, we run our mouths, you know. My girlfriends cannot come around me and think that we're going to be in the same spot in the next year, in the next month. If you just use me for a second, then if you left from that conversation and you got something, then amen. Take it to the next person and keep it moving. But we get this thing where we're cliquish. Men, I say to my husband all the time, like he has prostate cancer and he doesn't mind me sharing it, but I was just like, are you telling the brothers? He's like, nah, babe. I just told Dr. Miller when I met him this morning here, I said I have an autoimmune disease. I was 287 pounds. I had to stop eating stuff, you know, because I didn't want to be like you, running to the doctors, getting a pill, whatever. I removed potatoes from my diet. I'm 234 pounds. I have not been 234 in over 30 years. But clarity. He gave me clarity to say, stop going places and saying, write me something, because that's easy. You know what I mean? And if you follow me on social media, you know one of the things that I constantly talk about is mental health. Because for me, I do have faith. I'm strong in my faith. I pray 5 times a day. But when we're getting close to each other, we tell each other what we want to hear. That person that don't know me is going to say, girl, you batshit. You know what I mean? Like, you doing the wrong thing. Your girlfriends will be like, oh, you got a nice house, your husband's good, you got a car, you got a couple dollars, get out of here. No, I still find myself in valleys. And the strength is always in getting up out of them valleys. And so, amen. Thank you for having this event. I love seeing black men in close proximity. Keep doing it. And it doesn't matter if one person shows up. They got the message.
Listen,
Right?
I want to publicly thank you because you would not let me out of your community. If I don't talk to you for a day, well, not a day, but like a week or two, you'll pop up in my inbox, you'll call me, you'll say, and as a man, because I tell, especially women, I tell women I'm a mirror man, there's some kind of blind spot where I know I should be reaching out to people and living more socially, but I'm so focused on what the next event is, or what I got coming up, or, you know, somebody needs this and needs that. I don't call Andrew and say, you know, the boy, you know, my high school is playing their high school, let's go to the basketball game. And I should be. And I definitely don't drop in on Dr. Miller enough at his office. His office is right there on Main Street. And I need to be, you know, every time there's a parking space in front of his office, I should be stopping just to say, I don't want nothing, just checking on you, just saying hi. I do run into this gentleman at the gym, so we get our community here. But what I'm saying is, I'm like, he's admitted he was wrong. I tried, but I should be doing better with community. Me and Nathan, before he got married, we used to tear the streets up, going to hip hop events and interviewing different rappers and stuff like that.
I have a question,
Yes.
and it's something that the sister said brought it to mind. I wonder just how much social media has an effect on our mental health at this point.
Gentlemen,
In the game.
good.
In the school system, a lot.
But that's true. Are you talking about the school system or are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about social media in general. All I mean, was does that, I mean, adults, people that, I mean, you don't have to be in school, but, I mean, the sister just said.
Just let me ask this. Just gentlemen,
I'm sorry. I said the schools because they're young. They don't know how to process stuff like that. You know, in middle school, man.
okay, but don't we?
Next question.
But my question is, hasn't social media kind of tripped us up from meeting in person and being in community?
Let me put this out, because I think Drew wants to jump on.
And I think that definitely between you and I,
Yeah.
social media has tripped us up.
But you can see where the question is really.
That's a great
I'm
question.
gonna-
The question is left unsaid.
So, the problem is most people don't read a book. Most people don't go outside their little bubble where they live. So I'll give you an example. We lived in Dubai, I told you, right? My wife just walked in, she's a woman in the back. She loved it. We came back to the United States. Somebody was telling her to watch herself because, you know, all the restrictions they place on women in Dubai. She said to them, that's not true. We live there. They said, no, you don't know. So here's a person who watched it on social media telling the woman who lived there
Right, how it is.
how it is, but she's telling you no. But because you saw something on Facebook, you're telling her she doesn't know and she lives in it. And if you don't pick up a book, how can you have a conversation? I remember a man approached me about something and I said, well, it's in so-and-so book. Tom Barrera wrote a book called Brainwash Hack about this. He said, I'm not going to read the book. Then Joker, you're not qualified to speak to me. How can you think you can have a conversation with me? You're not educated. You can't even sit down next to me. You're not worthy. I'm being truthful about it. If I've read 10 books, if I've traveled the world studying it, you won't pick up a book, but you want to educate me. Good for you. You're not educated.
I got my
But
degree
people
from
think
social media, though.
they think they can speak on it because they read something on Facebook from a person they don't know the person's qualifications. I can send my brain surgeon on Facebook. You're not even checking to see if this person is qualified to have a conversation. That's why I think social media has messed it up, because you're looking at these people who have no qualifications, but yet you want to use them as the marker of what's really going on. That's a big problem.
So brother, to your point, and I'm gonna take this and say, that's what we have to teach the kids. And that's one of the things that in my school, in my classroom, my kids, they're all gonna love. They wanna learn that. You know, even for me, they all know that I'm involved in things in committees. I said, don't take my word for anything. Everything I say to you, you better check it.
Check it.
You better check it out. If I tell it to you, don't just take it at face value. You gotta do a little bit of work to look up what I said. And I tell these kids now, I said, and there's no excuse for them anymore. You got ChatGPT that'll answer just about any question you want and give you sources. But now you have to do that work to be able to be willing to look at that source and read that book.
No, they're not.
Yeah, that's right. You got to verify what's been in ChatGPT. You got to verify what it says to you. Don't just take it, you know, because it's coming a time, you guys, and all of you out here, you know it's coming. It's coming sooner than you think. When ChatGPT and that computer is going to be doing the thinking for us, and that's the direction that the powers to be are pushing all of humanity in. So all of us are going to be enslaved again, not by chains, but they're going to enslave us through the mind, because the computer is going to do all the thinking. And that's the challenge that we have as educators teaching today for the future. How do we teach our kids to utilize the resources to make it make sense for them, but don't let the resource take over their thinking. And that's where we at.
The bottom line is this: where is the man in the home? We have the percentage of women, single women raising our kids. And you're right, brother, that we don't read books enough. But there's one book that I did pick up, and that's the Bible. And it gives us a direction of the man and the woman. If the family, listen, I've been married for 40 years. 40 years. My kids have only seen me and my wife in the house. They raised in one house. I worked all the time so I would not have to move here, there, all over. But it was me and my wife that trained our kids. And they have the same media, they have all that, but they come up a little differently. Listen, if we can't have the man in the house, that's one thing. But to have just the woman in the house, she tries to be the man and the woman. It never works. Never works. They took prayer out of school, but they didn't take prayer out of the home. And that's the male's job. The male's job is to give the foundation of the family. What's the foundation? What makes us tick? How do we, the word says, don't be conformed by this world, but be ye transformed by what? The renewing of our minds. How do you get your mind renewed? You got to read. But it depends on what you read. The Quran, it's a good book. The Bible's a good book. It's going to teach us what we are to do. But we're away from that. We're away from that. And I would tell you about the mental health. Is it a disease? Because we got some people that have dyslexia or the other thing, dementia. But one thing about my mother-in-law who died from dementia, the one thing that they do remember is small memories from the past. But they bring them up to the day. But the one thing that my mother-in-law never forgot was who was Jesus. Jesus is in her heart the day she took her last breath. So what I'm saying, gentlemen, is I love this. This is good. And I love this man here because he's given me an opportunity to come out. It's my first time ever being a part of any of this. Any of this. But now my father says, it's time for you to put it out there. Tell them about me. When I was on that bed, getting ready to get my chest opened up, and they do that work for 7 hours, I asked him, I said, Father, if I wake up and see you, all is gain. My family's not going to like it because I'm not going to be here. But if I open my eyes and see the surgeons, you have something for me to do. And brothers, I'm here today. There's some things you may put your head down when I say certain things, and I understand that. I understand that. But when God says he's going to help you, he'll never leave you, nor forsake you, guess what? You can take it to the bank.
All right, I'm going to apologize, gentlemen, because several topics we just not going to get a chance to get into today.
Part two.
Part two. Hey, I'm down to do a part two. And ladies, we're definitely going to do a women's roundtable
On that
too
note,
as well.
on that thing, I like to beg and differ with the brother about women not being able to raise men. Okay? I come from a my father was very wayward. Okay? And my mother raised 7 of us. And we all turned out to be men and good women and people that could contribute to society in a positive way. So don't you think for 1 minute that a woman, as a matter of fact, black women are the backbone of our community. They really are. And they have been able to as single parents, I have seen it not only in my household, but I have friends that were raised in households by single parents single mothers, they turned out to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, you name it. So I just beg to differ with that, okay?
Well, I never said that. What I said was, a mother cannot be a father.
Well, my mother was,
That's what I'm saying.
my mother was pretty
Not
tough.
what they teach, what they teach is what we all benefit from it. But a woman cannot be a man. And we got a lot of problem with that today.
Well, I agree with that.
We got a lot of
I
problem with
agree,
that
but
today.
the point, I'm just responding.
Well,
I'm responding
you
to
gentlemen, you gentlemen may have to settle it, afterwards outside. But, before we, oh, he's going to the restroom. I was going to give you an opportunity to speak. Okay, so, before we wrap up and we do the, the last statements, do we have any other questions or comments from someone in the audience? Because this is the town hall. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Butchie.
No question.
I'm glad to, actually I've been in Missouri for the past 2 years, and so I just got a job back here in Atlantic City. So just to see, so just to see something like this is things that I want to be a part of, and I know how important it is in the community. And when you guys are talking about black males, I was working on a college level, and I see a lot of damage that's been done before they get to college. And so this is one of my reasons why I wanted to come back, so that I can start helping these guys so when they do get to college, they know exactly what they have to do. So I just thank you guys for allowing me and send me the flyer and all that stuff. And this is what's needed. And just like Ashia said, if one person comes out, 2 people come out, that's enough. We just got to keep, spreading the word. So I definitely appreciate you guys. What you guys are doing.
You came out the right time.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad you're here because the plan was to talk about mentoring a little bit, and I definitely wanted you to chime in on that. I would be remiss if I didn't give Bruce Weeks from the city of Atlantic City an opportunity to talk just a little bit about some of the great things that are going on business-wise here within the city. So I know it's off topic, but since we have the benefit of having you here, would you like to talk to us about some of the exciting things that you have going on here in the city?
Yeah, sure. I'll be very brief. It's good to see everyone. Most of you I know. For those who don't know me, I'm Bruce Weeks. I'm currently the Assistant Director of Economic Development for the City of Atlantic City. And one of the main things that we're focusing on now is the expansion, establishment, and development of Black and minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and veteran-owned businesses. So we have a new grant program that we're launching in the coming months where we're going to focus at a scoring system that prioritizes those 3 points. So we want to see more businesses open up, particularly in our business